Art moves before I can recover the distance between us. His first machete strike hits the armor on my forearm. The blade does not get through, but the impact knocks my arm aside. The second strike is aimed at my neck. I duck, catch his wrist, and drive him into one of the stage supports. Art does not react to the pain, he only looks at me and smiles. I fire a cable from my right gauntlet to trap the arm holding the weapon. He cuts the line with the machete before the reel can pull it tight. I go for his knee. Art steps back, changes direction, and drives his shoulder into my chest. The hit throws me into the control panel for the electric cage. My left gauntlet slams into the metal. The system fails. The lights go out, and the cage opens behind us. Art uses the darkness. The machete strikes the side of my armor. The plating stops the blade, but not the force behind it. I fall near the entrance to the corridor. My left gauntlet is dead. The first cage is open, and Art is still armed. Behind me, a woman is calling for help from inside a locked room. Art believes she is Lena Ward, the survivor he came to Gotham to kill. In reality, Lena is miles away, under protection. What he hears is a recording. Art does not know that yet. He could go straight to the door. Instead, he stops in front of me, raises the machete again, and reaches for my cowl with his free hand. He believes the system failed by accident and that nothing is left between him and the victim. The fight was real, so was the damage to my gauntlet. But I built the plan to keep working even without power. To explain how Art got here, I need to go back 5 nights. Gotham police found an abandoned theater operating without electricity. There were no victims, no ransom demand, and no written message. Only 40 empty chairs facing a projector. The film showed a corridor inside Gotham General Hospital. Almost every frame was blank. One of them showed a woman being escorted into protective custody. Her name was Lena Ward. Lena had survived an attack in Miles County. She was also the only witness who could identify the man who had followed her to Gotham. At the end of the corridor, partly hidden behind a service door, stood a man dressed as a clown. I found white grease paint smeared across the projector lens and a black balloon tied near the exit. Inside the projector was a partially burned bus ticket. It had been issued in Miles County. The ticket told me where the suspect had come from. The hospital image showed me who he was looking for. The county files gave me the name. Art. The reports described a silent killer who carried a black bag and changed his methods depending on the environment. He did not rely on one specific weapon. He used whatever was available and reacted quickly when a victim did something unexpected. The files also showed that Art could be injured. He could be incapacitated. On one occasion, he had died, and still he came back. The records ended with his body inside a morgue. The security footage continued with Art walking out of the building. After that, a pale figure with the appearance of a child began appearing near him. Another survivor was later used as a host by some presence that had never been fully identified. I did not know exactly what that entity was, but I knew what it had done. It restored Art after death. That changed my objective. I did not need to learn how to kill him. I needed to keep him alive and stop him from attacking again. I also needed to understand why Lena mattered. I reviewed the footage from the earlier attacks. Art was unpredictable in the tools he chose, but one part of his behavior stayed the same. When he believed he was in control, he slowed down. He watched the victim's reaction, waited for them to understand what was happening, and prolonged the moment. That was not a supernatural weakness. He did not need an audience to act. But that behavior created delays, and delays could be used. Lena was more than a witness. To Art, she was a victim who had escaped before he could finish. The theater was a message meant for her. So, I moved Lena out of Gotham. Before sunrise, a medical convoy left the hospital through the main entrance. The route passed through a street where signs of Art's presence had already been found. He saw the vehicle leave. What he did not see was a second transport leaving through the underground garage. Lena went in the opposite direction. The first vehicle was empty. Inside were only a hospital blanket, Lena's identification bracelet, and a recording of her voice. The false convoy stopped at an old television studio outside the city center. I wanted Art to believe Lena would spend the night there. The studio had one visible camera, a corridor marked as a secure area, and an electric cage protecting the entrance. The first trap needed to be easy to recognize. Art would not trust any place that looked too secure. If he could not find a weakness, he would keep searching until he found something I had not prepared for. So I left part of the cage's power cable exposed behind the set. The cage depended on electricity. If the power was cut, it would really open. The main containment chamber was at the end of the corridor. It was a small, reinforced room with a single mechanical door. There was no motor, no computer, and no electronic lock. An external lever closed the door. The mechanism worked without power. I removed everything from inside. No furniture, no tools, and no loose objects. But containing Art's body would not be enough. A normal cell might hold him. There was no guarantee it would stop the entity from reaching him. In Justice League files, I found records of nth metal being used to limit different forms of magical interference. The results were not always the same. I could not claim the material would destroy or neutralize that entity, but I could use it as an additional barrier. I lined the inside of the chamber with a layer of nth metal. Its purpose was simple: make contact between the entity and Art more difficult. Lena's recorded voice would play through a speaker hidden behind the rear wall. Her blanket and identification bracelet would remain visible inside. Art would have to enter the chamber to confirm she was there. He reached the studio shortly after midnight. He entered through the loading area and found me standing between him and the corridor. My left gauntlet controlled the outer cage. That connection was real. Art did not move in right away. First, he studied the rails above the stage. Then he examined the lighter mark at the center of the floor. He removed the bag from his shoulder and threw it onto the mark. The cage closed around the empty bag. Art looked at the camera and bowed. He believed he had discovered my plan. Then he disappeared behind the set and found the studio's main power line. When he cut the cable, the cage opened. The lights went out. My left gauntlet stopped working. And that is how we return to this moment. Art is less than 6 feet away. The cage is open. The power is gone. And he believes Lena is at the end of the corridor. He raises the machete. Then Lena's voice calls for help again. Art stops and looks toward the open door. The victim matters more than the man he believes he has already defeated. He walks past me and heads down the corridor. I remain on the floor while he approaches the chamber. The hospital blanket is visible inside. Lena's bracelet has been placed beside it. Art enters. The recording stops. He realizes no one is there. Art turns and runs back toward the door. I reach the mechanical lever. The door begins to close. Art jams the machete between the door and the frame, stopping it. He recognized the second trap before I could finish the movement. I fire a cable from my right gauntlet and catch the end of the machete. Art grips the weapon with both hands. I activate the reel. The blade slips from his hands and is pulled out through the gap. The door finishes closing. Art is trapped inside the chamber. He strikes the door, tests the walls, and searches for anything he can use. The room is empty. The structure does not depend on electricity. Cutting the power gives him no way out. Then the temperature in the corridor begins to drop. A small, pale figure appears in the darkness outside the chamber. It moves toward the door and places one hand against the surface. The nth metal bands inside give off a faint glow. The figure pulls back. It does not disappear, but it does not cross the barrier either. The metal did not destroy the entity. It only kept it from reaching Art at that moment. That was enough. Sensors under the floor confirm that Art is still alive. That matters as much as keeping him contained. I had no proof the entity could remove a living prisoner from that chamber. I did have proof that it could bring him back after death, so I gave it no body to restore. Before sunrise, the containment module was removed from the studio as a single structure. No guard traveled inside the compartment. No camera was pointed directly at Art. The medical sensors continued to confirm that he was alive and that the door remained closed. Lena was already far from Gotham, following a new route under a different identity. Art came to the city to kill the only witness who had escaped him. He never got close to her. He followed a recording, found the first trap, and cut power to the cage I wanted him to find. When he believed the studio was defenseless, he entered a chamber that did not need electricity. Art makes the fear of his victims part of the attack. When he believes he is in control, he prolongs the moment to watch their reaction. That delay is what I used against him. Concrete and steel keep Art contained. Nth metal reduces the chance of interference from the entity, and the sensors make sure he stays alive. This is not a permanent solution. Until I fully understand what brought him back, no containment can be treated as permanent. But for now, Art cannot reach another victim, and the entity that restored him has no new death to reverse.